All right, Drew. So we're coming off of our first sports speech panel. I challenged probably one of the best sports speech panels with Draymond Green and D Wade. I want you to share a little bit about what you're working on. I thought on stage, to be honest with you, I thought you did an amazing job of sharing a little bit, but we really want to make sure athletes got their point of view out there, which we did. So cheers to that. But let's talk a little bit about NBA Take-Two media and where you're going in the future.
Based on the idea that basketball is the connective tissue in pop culture, we're building an entertainment brand that brings fans and athletes closer together around like fun, irreverent programming that is exclusively off the court. Like more specifically, we're weaving NBA players, athletes, celebs, creators, and regular fans like together in reality TV style programming that covers everything from music and gaming to fashion and food and like family culture in formats that range from interview shows and stunt shows to competition shows and like food shows. And the guiding principle underneath all of it is that we want to bring out authenticity and emotional resonance in the programming because we want to turn regular people into players. We want them to participate. Like young people today want to co-create the IP that they love. And we want to turn players into people by humanizing them because we know like when someone truly becomes a fan of their hero, it's because there's some element of that hero that really resonates, and that is entirely off the court.
Wow. So from my days at Nike, with Kobe and LeBron, all the other Nike athletes, I'm not sure how many people know this, but Beats was a sports brand. And if I had to say what we couldn't live without, Beats was a basketball brand before it was a sports brand. To put it in perspective, that, to me, that $3 billion exit to Apple doesn't happen without basketball. But what was most interesting was we brought that music industry kind of mentality to storytelling, where we let the athletes tell their real stories. We let them control the edit. And it was one of the most powerful things I've ever seen in marketing. Nike does a good job of it. Now I would challenge and say we almost did a better job of it because we were more raw and honest. So if you think about brands like Nike to Beats, and let's go even further. Let's go Gatorade, which I love and have always respected. Right? So we're gonna talk about the best. I think there's Gatorade, there's Nike, and I would put them slightly different. They can argue of who's left or right, right? And then I'll put Beats over here, right? As far as we were aggressive, very honest, very athlete-centric. Where do you want to be in that spectrum as you think about content? Because there are a lot of advertisers who will watch this and they want to get a flavor for the kind of content you're going to help make.
We very much will succeed based on bringing out the real, authentic sort of personalities of the athletes and celebrities that we put in the frame. Like the things that make them laugh, the things that inspire them, like what they're like as parents. Miles Turner is a master Lego builder. Like we will get fantastic like sort of material on his personality if we have him build Legos with a 9-year-old and with a 75-year-old. So in a sense, we are like Beats. And another way we're like Beats is we're creating a frame that we get to put the celebrities in. Like Beats, you put together a sort of a formula for what like defined Beats as a brand, and you allowed the athletes to express themselves authentically, like in that frame. As an entertainment brand, we need to create like frames and formats that help bring out the best versions of the athletes. So sort of playfulness and irreverence and emotional resonance, like those are like sort of elements of the voice of our brand that all of our programming will fit into, and it's going to enable other brands that partner with us to slot into the programming in a way that is authentic to them, but is also authentic to the athlete.
So that was a bit of a trick question, I admit, but here's what I'll say. I think you said all of it. I think you're saying there's a Beats, there's some of Nike, and some of what Gatorade does. Because when I listen to your answer, it's part of what Beats did, but then there's so much more. And from what you said on stage, I heard a willingness to embrace it all. And like, nobody knows this, but behind the scenes, I was watching how the athletes were responding to you. And it was more like a trusted production partner, not like, look, I mean, they have a pretty interesting relationship with the league. It's their boss.
Indeed.
And what was interesting to me was the fact that you have your own business separate of NBA and NBA 2K. What was clear to me and quick for them to see was that you were not only different, but willing to do things that the league might not, because the league has to serve the game.
Of course.
And that benefits us, but you have a different sort of remit.
I mean, the NBA creates the most exciting competitive league in the world.
That's why we're fans.
And it, enables and empowers these athletes to, build sort of platforms and have like fans around the world get to know them. But the NBA is not a lifestyle oriented, like off the court culture brand. And so there's a really complementary opportunity. And when I interact with players or talent of any variety, I'm listening for like what lights them up and what makes them distinctly like themselves as personalities, and try to frame like sort of programming opportunities around that. So listening to Dwayne and Draymond talk about who they are as parents and as like the heads of households, like that's a really interesting lens through which to sort of put them in culture and put them in programming. And I think trust is built like on sort of real understanding. And like that's what, because we don't have to serve the competitive game, we have an opportunity to do all of this, this broader work that like sucks a much wider audience into the NBA universe in a way that's really resonant.
Yeah, and I mean, look, kudos to both Silva and Strauss. I mean, we don't have this without that, right? So the platform that's been built, they have to be obsessed about that platform, both game and event, so that we have the remit to go and do this extra thing. And my favorite comment and quote that you've always said is, these players are some of my favorite people. And I loved it because it was very human. And as much as the game has to serve the game, there's still people who play this game, and your not only remit, but like passion for like letting them be that, I think is what's interesting. So as you think about players out there who may watch this, you've already kind of given the answer, which is you want their stories, but what would you say to players that are interested in content, that want to tell their story and want to tell their story in an authentic way, and also want to interact with different brands? Like, what would you say to them?
First, that the opportunity is bigger and better today than it has ever been before. That they have the power to go direct to their audiences, and that brands recognize that like sport is a doorway to the rest of culture. But to be sort of great as a personality off the court takes a bit of thoughtfulness and like custom tailoring towards something that is distinctly like theirs, but also will resonate with a broader audience. You can't tell the same story that everyone tells, and you can't let yourself get put in a box in the way that like the world of production or the world of media like wants to. So it really requires sort of effort and work, but the business we're building like is a partner to like help bring that out for the players who do want to see what their potential is. And like we really do want to learn their stories and figure out ways of bringing out the best versions of them that will like really resonate and sort of build a fan base that cares about them as people and not just as athletes on the court.
So there's a lot of podcasts out there. We talk about it, we joke about it. I don't believe there need to be any more podcasts. I love the podcasts that are out there. Draymond, I love the podcasts. But how many modalities of storytelling like do you, because we talk and we're like, we don't necessarily need more podcasts, but what kind of content are you willing to make, and what kind of investment are you thinking about making? And not necessarily money, but the kinds of things you want to invest in content wise.
I mean, our programming will run from 30-second, like edited, user-generated content to 15-minute episodic YouTube franchises,
Okay.
to like long-form programming that will sell to the Netflixes and Amazons of the world.
Okay.
And it can range from a travel show. So we're working on a show with Joakim Noah that's an Anthony Bourdain style
That's dope.
show.
He's the guy also.
Yeah, he's a global
He's a
traveler.
global traveler, loves food, loves experiences, and can appreciate it and talk about it.
He connects with people and he learns the
Yeah.
world through like the lens of basketball.
Yeah.
And we do say that there are too many podcasts, but it's
And I think that's our joke. I think that's our joke. I mean, there should be more, but that's our joke.
I was going to say there are too many podcasts that are either hang sessions or basketball talk. If an NBA player has an obsession with food competition shows and wants to do a 10-minute, Food Network oriented podcast, like that would break ground and be different. And so I think what there's too much of is the same kind
1000%.
of sports oriented programming. So like we'll do a stunt show, like man on the street show. We'll do a food show. We would put like NBA players on roller skates if like they were great like roller skaters and wanted to like surprise people in Venice Beach. But the point is, it's got to be sort of different from the standard, and it has to fit the athlete's personality, and it needs to, in a way, fit what works on social media today. We want to take the lessons from the best creators out there and apply them to sort of athletes in within the frame of a playful and irreverent brand.
Now, you've said to me that obviously we're going to continue to serve the athlete stories. Talk to me about who you want to work with, because I know we've talked about brands. We've talked about agencies. We've talked about media companies. Like we talked about OTTs. Is it still that full list? Like, tell me who you want to work with, so whoever's watching this knows who to call.
We certainly want to work with everyone that you've just mentioned. With the framing is, we want partners who see the world the same way that we do. We want partners who understand that the user isn't just a passive consumer. Like the user like wants to co-create and wants to participate in the brands that they love. The user wants to like feel connected. The user wants to live the life of like a brand. So if we're working with a brand partner, we want the brand to want to be integrated in the programming in a way that like is authentic to both the athletes, but also the fans, the users who will be consuming the program. If we activate at a live event, like we don't want like a brand to have a sort of separate, like its own brand component of a live event. We want it to be woven in to what we do. If we work with an OTT, we want the OTT to understand the power of social media and how like seeding things on social can actually reinforce the power of like what winds up happening on the OTT.
So you're saying like, authentic. And no, somebody has to beep it, no corny shit. You're saying we want to make sure it feels woven in. What's when you think about your bar of excellence and who has to appreciate the work you're doing? Fans or players? Which one?
That's a trick question. The answer is both.
I ask trick questions. It's okay.
The answer is both. The players and athletes need to believe in the programming that they're doing with us. Because otherwise you don't get the kind of buy-in and openness, and they need to think it's cool, and they need to know that it is really like in service of helping them like accomplish their goals. We really are there to help each of these athletes build the kind of off-field, off-court, like brands, personas that they want to be. And obviously the programming needs to resonate in a deep way with the fans, with the users. Otherwise, it doesn't have a reason for being if it doesn't like tap into something sort of deeply emotional and connected for
I got you.
like people who love sports and who love culture.
So I'm gonna ask 2 questions so we can wrap up. One is, I know you know the answer, but I want you to say it, which is, when you say culture, I get so pissed off at the word culture because people just say it.
I've said it a couple of times.
No. I know you know. So I get pissed off at the people who don't know. Culture. What does that mean? When you think about culture, talk to me about some of the genres of culture that you want to see, fun content. Like, I want people who are watching this to go like, I want to talk to him because I want to do X. I want to do X. I'm in finance. I'm in alcoholic beverages. I'm in travel. I'm in leisure. I'm in technology. When you talk about culture, give me a little dimension of what we're talking about.
I think there are 2 elements here. Like, one element is like what categories of activity people participate in, and that's everything from they love food, or their fashion really matters to them, or their accessories matter to them, or they love to travel, or they they're really into design, whether that be art or like interior design. They love real estate. There are a variety of categories that sort of make up culture. But then the second layer is like the way culture like inspires us and gives our lives meaning and bring us together in community. Like all of the categories only matter insofar as they help us create self-identity and they help us like understand like each other and sort of build community. And so when I use the word culture, it is shorthand for like all of these like sort of categories of activity that someone can love, that can move someone, that can help teach them about themselves and about their worlds. And those are like, that's the way that anyone sort of becomes obsessed with something. That's anyone becomes like a super fan of something. So I can't imagine any brand that wouldn't want to tap into like someone's passions through any of these categories. The categories are just like a vehicle for something that has like deep emotional meaning, deep behavioral meaning for someone.
So back to camera. I did that because there's a lot of people you'll talk to, a lot of people on these panels who use the word culture and have no clue what it means. I want you to understand there's a person who knows what it means, and there's a person who knows how to weaponize it. This is where our relationship starts, and I appreciate you. So with that, unless you have any questions for me, I think we wrap this up and we keep it moving.
I won't do the Draymond thing. No questions for you. Thank you, Omar.
Thank you, brother. Cheers.